Hello YouTube, Tim here, and I wanted to give you guys a 6-month check-in on my Dell Venue 11 Pro laptop slash notebook slash whatever the heck you want to call it. This here is the device. This portion is a tablet. You push this button and you can lift it out. One-handed is a little hard, and unfortunately I don't have access to my tripod. It's packed away with everything else, so I won't be able to remove it for you with one hand unless I set the camera down, which I'm going to try and avoid. First of all, how happy am I still with it 6 months later? I'm exceedingly happy. Over the course of a normal day with pretty intense use, let me just check the battery right now. 79% battery remaining in the tablet, 1% in the actual laptop portion. I don't like to get it that low on the laptop portion, but that's natural because throughout the day it charges the tablet with that. So it keeps everything running nice, smoothly for a very long time. Battery life is just incredible. It's really, really good. That's number one. Number two, the weight, portability, I love it. It's about as heavy as a first generation MacBook Air, even though it's a tiny bit smaller and a little bit thicker. So in terms of portability, it's great. And if you really wanted it to go the extra mile and be a little bit more portable, you could go the extra mile to get the travel keyboard instead of the battery keyboard. Let's say the performance still exceptionally good. I have no problems playing games and stuff like that, doing anything that I had been doing on it before. It's still totally capable. It's a fine device. It's still snappy, responsive, works beautifully. Problems now. Let's get into some of the drawbacks. I'm finding that it's more device than I need and less device than I'd need. On the more device than I'd need, I find most of the time I would have been happy with an Android tablet or even an iOS device, something along those lines. There's nothing wrong with a simple tablet if all you're going to be doing is some basic web browsing. As a tablet, and basically 11-inch screen is pretty big to hold in one hand, even though it's not heavy per se. It's about as heavy as a first generation iPad, which is, not small, but not horrendous. The real issue is an 8-inch, 7 or 8-inch tablet. That form factor is so much more comfortable to hold with one hand and just to carry around just for casual browsing. So I can see the attraction in that on a day-to-day basis. When I actually want to do powerful work, however, I can still get most of that done. Absolutely. I have Word, Office, everything I could possibly want here. It's great. However, the screen's a tiny bit small. The connector, this is as far back as it goes. So this is on a pool table right here. And if I were to hold it here to be comfortable to view, I'd have to set a pool ball behind it, and then I'd have to do that. It's very awkward. So if you find yourself in lots of positions, you might be better off with a yoga or, heaven forbid, the Microsoft Surface 3, which is a pretty darn nice compromise device. And that's really what this device is all about. It's a compromise. I do have a removable battery. I think that's incredible in a tablet, which, this is essentially a tablet with a keyboard attachment. I think that if I were going to purchase again, I might go for a slightly bigger laptop, more powerful laptop, or better yet, I'm increasingly thinking that the Chromebook is the way to go because once they're able to run Android apps, which should be in the works, and it was demoed at Google I/O, I believe, just a week ago, that's going to be more than adequate for me. I'm going to be able to do all my web browsing, which is what I normally do. I do most of my document editing either in Word online or in Google Docs, things like that. So I live in the cloud. I don't need to have very much local power. But finally having access to some basic Android apps on a Chromebook will solve any problems and bridge at least into the next generation when there's no distinction between your mobile and your laptop devices. So I said I like the combo of a small tablet and a Chromebook. This does both, but I think it's a compromise on both ends. So it's not as good a laptop as a better laptop. It's not as good a tablet as a good tablet. For what it is, it's incredible. I'm still very happy with it. Gaming, for examples of games that run really, really well on it. Reaper, the Pale Swordsman, the Steam version, I got that. It runs very well. Torchlight runs really great. A whole bunch of games run great on it, but I typically restrain myself to playing games like FTL or older games. Newer things, obviously, I don't even try. I think I mentioned in my initial review that I was able to play Assassin's Creed 2 in the absolute lowest settings, which to me just took all the fun out of it because you have this beautiful big screen and you're playing inside a small box, or you're getting letterboxing because it's cropped. So it's a compromise. You're not going to be doing power gaming on it. But what I have found is that using Steam, I was one of the early subscribers to the Steam beta where they had streaming. It works great as a streaming device. I'm just not so certain that in another 6 or 8 months you won't be able to do the same thing on an Android tablet or iOS device, so I'm not certain that advantage is going to be a big advantage for long. And if that's really a huge use case for somebody, I might consider, in that circumstance, getting something like a cheap Windows laptop instead of a Chromebook, which would be fairly comparable in price. But for me, I see my next one being a 8-inch tablet, hopefully a Nexus 8 or something like that, and a Chromebook. That's just a 1-2 punch, which gets 99% of my work done, and the 1% that I can't do on either of those, I'll be able to do at home on a more powerful workstation. Well, that's really everything that I can say about it, except I started to touch on the problems. The only problems that I've really had is there's a weird, and I'm going to call Dell and talk to them about this. Every once in a while, the machine just sort of resets, and you have to reboot it. Now, it reboots in like 13 seconds, so it's almost unnoticeable. It's really not a problem unless you honestly expect your device to be instant on like it should be, like that. If you're willing to take a few seconds, log in again, it's not a big deal. So it's even if it never stops doing that, it's not a deal breaker because again, I never lose any work, everything's in the cloud. There is no issue, but it shouldn't be happening. Something's wrong, and my suspicion is that it's possible, since the battery is removable, that strength is also a weakness, and that it's possible that if I torque it in the right way or set it down too roughly, it might lose contact with the connectors and depower the laptop. Possible. I can't guarantee that's exactly what's happening, but it would be interesting to talk to Dell and see what they have to say. The only tiny, tiny thing that's happened maybe 5 times is the display driver has crashed, which just means the screen goes black and then it comes back a few seconds later after it recovers. Just saying, hey, the display driver crashed. You might want to take a look at that. I don't really know why. I can't say. But again, that's rarely happened. Just something that's I'm willing to tell you, just so you know what you're getting into. Would I buy this tablet again? That's the hard one. I think, like I was saying, I would probably get a smaller Android tablet and a Chromebook. But for what it is, if you really have to run Windows things, and you want something just like this, it's great. I still don't have the stylus. I really want the stylus, but it's hard for me to justify spending $30 for something that, according to all reports, is kind of half-baked. They didn't use an existing technology, which is more or less established and functional. They went with a third party who has new technology which needs to be developed. I'm sure the next generation version will be, spot on perfect, but it just can't compete with the Wacom tablets and the Wacom pens and digitizers, or what Microsoft is doing with their Surface 3, which has, class leading digitizers and stuff like that. So I can't say I'd buy it again, but it's not for any problem per se in the actual product. And as I understand, they've also improved them several times with slight upgrades to the CPU and things like that since I bought it in December of last year. That's 2013. I might not buy it again, but if I needed something which did exactly what this does, which is run Windows programs, runs all your legacy apps, is still capable of running things like Steam and Word, then yeah, it's fine. I'm happy with it, and I'd buy it again. The keyboard is excellent. I type on it with no problem at full speed. But I just think that I'm starting to move beyond needing or even really wanting a computer like this at all. I hope the review has been helpful. I hope this update has given you a few more insights into this product, because my original one didn't really have 6 months of experience to look back on. And if I were looking at buying this product right now, I'd really like to know some of these things, because I may be the only one having these restart issues. I may not be. I haven't looked into that yet, but it's again not happening so often that it's an issue. And when it happens, I can afford 13 seconds to reboot my machine. In fact, it might even be healthy for it now and then, just to clear the memory and whatnot. Thank you for watching, and I hope you liked it.